Hi there, this is Bob Hatton, this is The Encourager. I am so excited about being able to speak to you today. We're looking at the book of Deuteronomy, and I think it's very exciting and it's very apt for us today. I've called this short talk for today, I've called it a missed opportunity. And if you'd like to have a reading, then chapter 1 and verse 34 to 46. The former generation is on the verge of something good. They can probably smell their inheritance. It's so close. They're in this place, Kadesh Barnea, which is more or less on the border to the promised land. They've just got to get through the land of the Amorites, and then they'll enter the promised land, the land that is flowing with milk and honey, the land that God has promised them. You know, that's why they left Egypt. That's why God delivered them from slavery. That's why God took them through the Sinai and through the Red Sea and everything, because he's leading them to the land of promise. But when they get there and they send out these 12 spies, and the 12 spies come back and they say, boy, is that a country. I mean, look at these grapes that we brought back. Look how big they are. Look how delicious they taste. And it's a great land. It's a wonderful land. It really is flowing with milk and honey. But then they've got a very, very big but, B-U-T. But there are giants in that country, and there are not only giants, but there are big fortified cities with very strong army. It's a very nice land, but you know, it's not for us. Let's stay in the desert. Let's, because it'd be very difficult. Now Moses, together with Joshua and Caleb have been part of this group of Moses, Joshua, and Caleb tried to persuade the people of Israel to do that which God had commanded them, to get a hold of their inheritance. But the people didn't want. They started to speak against them. They started to cry. They were making such a noise. They were all through the night. It went up, and in the end, God says, they're not going to go into that land. I'm not going to take them into the land of promise, into the land of their inheritance. Nobody from this people, this nation, will enter that land until this generation has died, except for Caleb and Joshua. These are men with a different spirit. And you know what has happened? They have just missed the opportunity. They could have been in that land. Of course there will be conflict. Of course there are adversaries. When we move forward with God, we always come into conflict. We always have adversaries. There's always difficulties that we have to overcome. But like Joshua said, God is with us. We can do it. And we are more than overcomers. And if God is with us, who can be against us? And we should be moving forward. Don't miss these opportunities. Don't waste your life doing stuff that's not so important. When you get to the border, and even it's going to cost you something, when you're there and you know the next steps, I'm going to enter into my calling. I'm going to enter into all that God has got for me. Don't withdraw because the cost might be difficult. Don't withdraw because it might be that next steps might be very difficult. But listen to what God says. And when we listen to what God says, faith is generated in our heart. Now, the writer to the Hebrews in the New Testament, he reflects about this story, and he said they had the promise. God had promised them this land, but they didn't enter into it because they didn't mix the promise. They didn't combine the promise with faith. Now, faith is something very, very important for us. Faith is being convinced of things that we cannot see. It's being convinced of things that we hope for. And I just mentioned before, it's generated in our hearts when we get God's word, when God speaks to us, that releases faith in our heart. And this is important that we take time to listen to God, and then we mix his words with our faith. What God says is true, even if it seems impossible. And that's the story of the Bible. There are many, many impossibilities that happen because God said they would happen. And this is the whole thing about faith. Israel missed this opportunity and they had to wait for the next generation. And of course, Moses is speaking to this next generation and he's telling them this is what happened. Beware, this is a caution. And they have learned from this and they're ready to go into the promised land. They're not going to miss this opportunity at all. Let me just finish with a word from Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 35. And it says, so do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere. That means don't give up. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. Wow, that's a good word. And I hope that you have a good day. Don't miss any opportunities today, but do everything that God tells you to do and do it in faith, expecting whatever you do will bring a great reward. Well, have a good day. This is Bob Hatton. This is your encourager. Bye-bye.